Hi, welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable snowman ornament that I was inspired to make by this one that I saw at Kirkland's. So if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell. Now let's get making our snowman. We're going to start with this Deco Art Americana warm white acrylic paint, and we're going to paint the front, the back, and all the sides of our snowman. Now you can pick up snowmen at most craft stores. You can pick them up on Amazon. If you've noticed, mine isn't exactly the same shape as the one from Kirkland's, but it's as close as what I could find. You could also take and just trace a snowman out onto foam board or onto plywood or something and cut it out yourself, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be the exact same. Now I'm going to use this Master's Touch black, permanent black paint, and we're going to do the hat. And we're going to do the front, the back, and the sides of our hat with this permanent black paint. And make sure that your line where the white and the black come together is nice and straight. And just to paint all that and paint down inside the hole where we're going to thread our string in a little while. Next, we're going to use this raw umber, also from Master's Touch, and we're just going to outline our snowman in them. We're just doing a small outline with a dry brush, just to give them a little bit of character and definition. And actually later in the video, I'll show that we're going to go back over and actually give him a little bit more definition with that raw umber. Next, we're going to take our cutting board that I got from Dollar Tree. It's just a plastic cutting board, and we're going to lay that on top of our snowman. And using our hot glue gun and kind of dabbing back and forth motion, we're going to make him have a carrot nose. And we're taking his nose right off the side of his face, just extending it a little bit to give him a little bit more character, and it'll give him a nice 3D look to his nose. And we're going to do that same concept with the ribbon on his hat. We're just going to take and draw that ribbon out with our hot glue gun. And now we want to decorate both sides of our snowman. So don't forget to flip them over and to make his nose and the ribbon on his hat for the other side as well. That way when we're hanging him on the tree, if he gets twisted, you'll still see a decorated snowman on both sides. And once you get that all drawn out with your hot glue gun there, just let it dry. And once it's dry, just use the edge of your thumbnail and just kind of peel it off from your cutting mat there. And once it starts to come up a little bit, you can actually just go ahead and grab it and pull it off. Or you can keep using your thumbnail like I just did there. Either way, it comes up really pretty easy. And you can see we put our nose right there on our snowman, and I'm going to just peel up the ribbon part, and you can see on this one I'm just going to pull it off. Just be gentle when you pull it off, because you can rip it right in half if you pull too hard or too quickly, but even if that does happen, they're easy enough to remake a new one. Now we're going to use this Master's Touch orange acrylic paint, and we're going to just paint our snowman's nose. And you can kind of see his nose there, how going back and forth with our glue gun as we were using it kind of gave it that real carrot look to it, a little bit of character to his nose there. And then we're going to use this crimson red paint to paint the ribbon for his hat, and these dry super quick, so within just a few seconds, you can go ahead and get ready to be putting these on our snowmen. Now, my ribbon was a little longer than what I thought it was, so I'm just using my scissors to trim that right down to the size I need. And that's super easy to do because this is just hot glue, so it cuts very, very easily. And then just hot glue those right onto our snowman. Now, because this is hot glue, gluing down hot glue, you want to work kind of quickly, because if you wait too long or just leave that really hot glue setting on these, it will melt them. So use as little amount of hot glue as you can to glue them down with. And then we're just going to give them one more coat of paint after we have them glued down, just to brighten them up a little bit. And you can see how cute that's already looking. And don't forget to paint the nose and the ribbon for the back side of our snowman as well. And you can see that one was a little long too, so I just trim that up and then I paint that and get that all set to put on. Now when we're putting our nose on for the back side, make sure that you get it so it lines up directly with the nose that was on the front side. That way you don't see like two different noses when you're looking at them. And you can see how I just used a little bit of hot glue and just kind of smushed that around or smoothed that around with the nozzle of the hot glue gun. You don't want to use too much because it will end up melting your nose or your ribbon or whatever you're trying to glue on there. And you can see how the noses are right straight across from each other there. And now we're just going to hot glue this ribbon on. And putting that down. And again, we're just going to paint it one more time just to make it nice and bright. Now you can see here at the top of his ribbon how it looks a little bit funky up there at the top from where we hot glued, and then we painted over where we hot glued his ribbon on. To clean that up, just take your X-Acto knife and just cut off the part that you don't want there. And you can just kind of cut that and then kind of peel that right away. And then you can see it leaves it a much nicer and cleaner edge to it. Now we're going to take our Deco Art Americana warm white paint once again, and this time we're going to paint some snow along his ribbon, along the top of his nose, on the end of his nose, and along his hat. And we're just going to make him truly look like he's frosty and it's all snow covered. And as I mentioned, make sure that you do both sides. He's already starting to look adorable. Now, are any of you doing a snowman theme, or do you collect snowmen? I haven't done a snowman theme, and I'm thinking about possibly doing a snowman theme next year. This year, I'm going to use him on my tree that I'm doing different plaids and reds on. And so that's where I'm going to use him this year. Another thing he would be great for is if you do an ornament exchange. This would be a great ornament exchange gift. I believe these cost like $6 or $8 for each one at Kirkland's. Making them ourselves just allows us to save a little money and spend it on things that we can't make ourselves. Now I did speed this video up quite a bit as I'm painting the snow along the brim and the top of his hat, so you wouldn't have to watch too long me painting that portion, because I'm not a super fast painter, but I did want to show you how I went about painting it. So if you really like snowmen, you may really like the video I did last week. It's a standing snowman that I made using only Dollar Tree and Dollar General items. So it's a very inexpensive snowman, but he looks adorable and he looks much more expensive than what it costs to make. And I'll put the link to that video right up above here. Hopefully you guys are getting all ready for Christmas and enjoying all the season activities. It's amazing to me how quickly this year has flown by. I seem to say that every year, like as if I'm expecting it to go slower next year, but it never seems to go any slower. It gets quicker and quicker every year. Even my kids are saying they can't believe how quickly this year has just flown by. I keep telling them, just wait until you get older. It seems to go by even quicker. And now we're just putting that snow right across the top of his hat here. And he is definitely starting to look like he was in a snowstorm there. And there is no right or wrong way to putting the snow on his hat here, just so he looks all nice and covered and frosted up. And now we're going to put his eyes on. And you can see I'm starting with just the smallest, tiniest dots to begin with. I prefer to always start really, really small and then just keep going around and around, making his eyes bigger and bigger as I want them. That way it just gives me the opportunity to see exactly what size and where I want them. So if I need to change anything, I can do that without committing myself to great big large eyes right from the beginning and then wishing I had smaller ones. And then just go ahead and draw your eyebrows on. And I always need to turn things this way and that way in order to paint. I don't know about you guys, maybe you guys can just paint with something face at you, and just that amazes me when people can do that. I'm crazy when I paint. I have to turn it this way and that way. Now we're just going to do his eyes on this back side. Again, starting with real small dots and then just making them larger and larger as we go, going back and forth to expand them. And adding our eyebrows in on this side. And he's looking good already. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to put just a little bit more black paint on the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to gently outline a little portion of his nose on the underside and the upper side, just to kind of give that a little definition from the rest of his body and his face. I felt like it was blending in just a little bit too much. And we're going to flip that over and do this portion of his nose as well. I felt like it was a little hard to see his nose with the snow that we put on the top of it. So that's why I'm just outlining it just very, very lightly with the black. Now you can see right there, I got a little bit of the black on the orange part of his nose. And I'm going to show you in just a second here how to quickly get that off and easily take care of that. Now I'm just going to rinse my brush out here, and I'm going to dab it on some paper towel, and then just taking the damp brush, I'm going to go right over the top of where I got that paint on there, and then just using my thumb, I'm just going to rub that, and that came right off. That was a very easy fix. And now I'm just going to take some of our white paint and just on this red paint that we did his ribbon with that is almost dry, I'm mixing some of that white right on top of it, just to give me a very faint pink color to do some rosy cheeks with. And I wanted a very, very faint pink color. Nothing that would show up too much. And I'm doing the front side and the back side. Now I like this back side. It's a very muted pink. I think the front side, I may have got it a little bit darker than what I intended. And so what we're going to do is just flip that over. And I'm just going to take some of our white paint and just taking the smallest amount, I'm going to go over the top of this pink paint. Not enough to totally cover it, just enough to lighten it up there. And I'll do that on both sides of his cheeks. Just taking a dab of that white. And now I'm going to take another dab of that white and give him some highlights in his eyes. And we'll flip them over and give him highlights on this side. And I got a little too much of white paint on the end of my brush when I was doing the highlights. So now I put just a dab of black paint on the end of the brush, just the very, very tip. And I'm just filling that back in so that the white isn't quite so wild on the highlights of his eyes. And now using those small dots like we did for his eyes, we're going to make his mouth, giving him a mouth that will represent like a coal mouth. And doing very small dots, and then we'll just go ahead and grab some more black paint and make those dots just a tad bigger, a tad more prominent there. Now, you guys can do this type of mouth, you can do a straight line mouth, whatever type that you like, you can do that. This is the type of mouth that my inspiration snowman had, and so that's why I wanted to do this type. And we're almost done with his mouth here. And he's looking cute. And now we're going to give our snowman a couple scarves. Now we have a long one and a short one. And these are just some scrap pieces of a tree skirt that I bought. If you've watched any of my other videos, I've used this tree skirt that I've cut up to make several different projects with. And we're just going to tie that around one side of our snowman here and give him a scarf going this way. And then we're going to flip him over. And I don't like just having that straight line of the scarf there, so I'm going to take the shorter one and I'm going to pull it up through underneath the other scarf until we get it about halfway. And then we're just going to tie a knot right there. We're going to just tie that, and it will make him look like he has a complete scarf on both sides of him. And you can see how cute he is looking. Now this side is much longer, so I'm just going to tie one more tie in it. And that will kind of even those sides up or be a lot closer. And that is looking just the way I want it to. Now this side's sticking up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that hot glue there, and I'm going to put just a dab of hot glue on here. And then put that top piece down right on top of it. And that's just enough to hold it down. And now I'm going to do it to this side. Not that this side really needs it, but we're just going to go ahead and do it. Again, just the smallest little dab right there is all we need. And he is looking adorable. I'm going to just cut off a couple of these frayed edges right at the top. I don't care about the frayed edges that are on the longer part of the scarf. I think it just adds a little bit of character. And there he is. He's looking great. We're going to take now just some of this jute twine. I cut 16.5 inches, and I'm just going to fold it right in half, and I'm going to thread that right through the hole at the top of our snowman's hat. We're just going to push that right in there, and once it's coming out, we're going to pull it part way out, and we're going to open that up, making a loop there, and we're going to pull those other two loose ends right through our loop. And then just kind of move that back and forth, pulling it tight. Good, and you can see it's on there nice and tight. And now just go ahead and make a tie in our loose ends. And then we're going to make another tie so that we actually have a knot. And now pull these nice and tight, and we're going to put just a dab of glue right on the top of our knot there, just to hold it so it doesn't come apart. And now we're going to go and tie one more tie in our jute twine here, and that's just going to hide that hot glue that's there, as well as just keep it very tight and secure together. We're just pulling that nice and tight from both ends. Now we don't have anything to worry about as far as that coming undone. And now we can just pull these loose strings straight up, and we can cut those loose ends off. And now if we wanted to, we could be finished with our snowman, but we want to actually put the word Noel on our snowman. So we're going to get out our cutting board again and put it on the bottom half of our snowman, and we're going to write the word Noel in our hot glue. Now make sure that you get your letters a little bit thicker, because if they're too thin, they will melt when you hot glue them back on. So just make sure that your letters are nice and thick. And if you need to go over them again, that's perfectly fine. The hot glue will just melt into the hot glue that you've already put down, and so it's very easy to go ahead and add extra to make it thicker. And don't forget to turn your snowman over and write the word Noel on your cutting board for your back side of your snowman. Now you could do this directly on your snowman. I just wanted to have a little bit more control with where I put it and if I made any mistakes. I like projects that are very forgiving if you make any accidents or mistakes, and so that's why I just preferred to do this on the cutting board first. And you can see we can just peel those letters right off from there. The N I did individually, and then the OEL, I have all those connected, and you can just very gently peel those right off the cutting board, and there we have them. And I'll just place one here on our snowman so you can kind of see how they'll look there. And I think that's going to look great just like that. Now any loose ends here, like you know how you always get those strings with hot glue, you can just use your scissors or you can use your X-Acto knife and just cut those off and clean your letters up to just the way you want them to be. And then take your raw umber paint, and just go ahead and paint all your letters for the front side and the back side. And we're getting really close to being done with our snowman. Now I'm just going ahead and adding a little bit more of that raw umber all the way around our snowman, just like I told you I was going to do. I just really wanted to define the different portions of the snowman's body a little bit more. And I really like how it made it just look a little bit distressed, having just a little bit more of that raw umber going on there. And now I'll show you what it looks like with our Noel on here, and then we'll just glue that on. Now when you glue, again, remember to move very quickly at this part, because if your letters are at all thin, they will melt. And so here I'm actually picking up all the letters and gluing it and putting them back down. And I found that they were starting to melt because you have to move so quickly at this. So I actually found on the other side that it worked better if I left the letters already on the snowman and just kind of lifted them up a little bit like I'm doing with the L here, and then put a little hot glue on and then place the letter right back down again. But even on this, you can see how the end of the L kind of melted. That is not a problem whatsoever. Don't let that discourage you whatsoever. You just put another little piece of hot glue on there and we'll paint that, and you'll never be able to even tell that the end of it melted. It's perfectly fine because we're going to give another coat of our paint over all of our letters, just like what we did with our carrot nose and our ribbon on our hat. And there we have it. Our snowman is all done. Is he just adorable? I really enjoyed this project. I hope you guys did too. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more, I'd really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. And later this week, I'm going to have a video with 3 ornaments on it. So I hope to see you on that video.